Today I'm building 5 LEGO D-Day MOCs, one for every beach that the Allies landed on during D-Day, which took place 81 years ago today on June 6, 1944. Now you might have already spotted it, but yes, there's a giant spinning wheel directly behind me. And on this spinning wheel is a bunch of challenges and handicaps that my Discord came up with. For every LEGO D-Day beach that I build, I have to spin this wheel, and whatever it lands on, I have to do. Now before I can actually build each of these D-Day beaches, I first need to move this monstrosity. Please don't break. There we go. Now going from left to right, I will be building Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Now speaking of Sword Beach, you might remember that last year I built a giant 100% historically accurate Sword Beach Queen Red Sector MOC, also known as Strong Point Cod or the Twin Villas. However, this year I want to do something just a little different, which is precisely why I asked my Discord to come up with all of these horrible suggestions. The first beach that I will be building will be Utah Beach. So with that being said, it's about time to spin the Wheel of Doom. Spin the wheel. Let's find out what we get. Some of these are really bad, by the way. Some of them are really bad. Okay, that's not too bad. This one is 3 colors. That means I can only use 3 colors for the build. So let's think. I guess blue, tan, and olive. Blue, tan, and olive, I think would get the job done. So let's get to work. Taking another look at the reference image, my first and best guess is that anti-tank gun is a Pak 40. However, for the time being, I'm going to be using this French World War I field gun just to get the size and proportion. But of course, later in the video, I will be building a LEGO World War II Pak 40 so that we can match the historical detail. But first, I should probably do some building. So far, I've only used tan parts, and yes, you can see where the beach ends, which is also where the water is going to go. Now, if you watched my previous LEGO D-Day video last year, then you know what comes next. First, I'm going to place a layer of blue plates, and then I'm going to pour in these blue studs. Okay, so that's the first layer of blue plates, and already it's starting to look pretty good. And now we're going to take the blue studs, and as we did in the last video, I'm literally going to pour these in. The reason we're doing this is because it gives it a surface layer at the bottom, so there's no like bits of grey poking through, and in the rest of it, it kind of looks a little bit more like water. Now again, all of these are blue. We've had an escape. Oh no, second escaped convict. Now I want to just press it down as well, so the water is not actually higher than the beach. And just like that, now we have tan for the beach and blue for the water, which means I only have one color left to recreate this picture from June 6th, 1944. But before I can place it, I first need to get the rest of the beach built up using wedges. By layering Utah Beach with tan wedges, what it does is it helps to give a gradient. It looks as if we have the water here and the beach gradually gets steeper. However, looking back at our reference image, you can see that the anti-tank gun is supposed to be built into a gap between the sand dunes. In other words, there's a raised hill either side here, but before I can do that, I first need to know what the anti-tank gun is, how big it's going to be, and what position it's going to occupy. So once I know that, I can then build up the terrain around it on either side and then get the barbed wire behind that as well. Now, as it turns out, this is not a German Pak 40. After doing some more research, I found out that it's actually a captured French 47mm anti-tank gun, the SA-37 L50. Now, as far as I can tell, nobody has ever made this anti-tank gun using LEGO, so what I'm about to do is going to be my very own masterpiece. I hope. Well, we will see. We will see. Now, I'll be the first to admit that no, it's not perfect, and yes, it did involve the sacrifice of a field gun, but it's definitely better than using a historically inaccurate gun. And of course, now that I've got this 47mm French anti-tank gun that was captured by the Germans, I can place it onto the LEGO MOC. Something like that, which is gonna allow me to build up the terrain around it and try to match the detail in our reference picture. And this is the final result. Now you'll notice that we've got 2 German minifigures on the French captured anti-tank gun. The reason I've decided to do that is because this will be a historical recreation of the battle just before the photo was actually taken, when the anti-tank gun was still manned. Now again, our challenge was 3 colors. You can see we've got blue, we've got tan, and we've got olive for the top of the sand dunes, the grassy bit at the top of the sand dune. Obviously the anti-tank gun and the minifigures are excluded from that, and yes, that is a new rule that I have literally just made. If you have a problem with that rule, you can take it up with the Wheel of Doom. Not my problem. So Utah Beach has been completed. Next up is Omaha Beach. And for Omaha Beach, I will be building it in just 1 hour. Let's not forget this guy though. Let's reintroduce the Wheel of Doom and see what we get. Please don't be awful. No left hand. I can do that. That's fine. No left hand. How absolutely delightful. So I've got 1 hour and only my right hand to build Omaha Beach. Should probably get started. Okay, so already that was a pretty fantastic use of time. That is almost 4 minutes gone, but not to fear, I do have an plan. And once again, if we take a look back at the reference picture, the famous Into the Jaws of Death image from Omaha Beach, we're gonna get an LCVP and we're gonna get the Americans jumping out of the water as they wade through towards the beach. And so, well, the first step is going to be, once again, getting a surface layer of blue down, which we're then gonna build on top of. And I need to remember, I almost forgot I'm not allowed to use my left hand. Fortunately, I am right-handed because I am a normal human being. Also, I would like you to pay attention to my left arm. If you catch me cheating, if I accidentally use my left arm, you'll have to let me know in the comments. I'm gonna keep it behind my back so that I don't use it. But that is the first layer of water. Now again, that's just a surface layer. And as you can probably see over here, or maybe you can't see, as we did down on the Utah Beach mock, we will then detail it with blue studs. But of course, we're not limited to 3 colors only, like we were on the Utah Beach build, which means I can get a bit of white studs in there, make it look like water. Now, I've got 2 options here. I can try and build an LCVP Higgins boat from scratch for this build. Or, some of you might remember this LCA, Landing Craft Assault. This was one of 3 Landing Craft Assault crafts that I originally built for the Sword Beach Queen Red Sector mock that I built last year. Now, obviously, an LCA and an LCVP are not the same landing craft. However, what we could do is, there's 2 options here, right? I could either literally just break this in half and use the front of it and kind of remodel it slightly to look like an LCVP, or I could use this as a template and try and use it for like scale and proportion in order to actually build an LCVP that fits onto this mock. Now you can get the rough idea of scale and proportion based on where this is sitting right now on top of the timer for some reason. We've got 50 minutes to do this. The question is can I build an LCVP with only my right hand in 50 minutes? And have enough time to do the rest of the detail and get the minifigures lined up coming out into the jaws of death on Omaha Beach.
Moments later.
Okay, I've made a decision. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try my best to build a Higgins boat with just my right hand using this time. However, if I start running out of time, I'm going to destroy this LCA and use the front of it for the Higgins boat, but that will be a last resort. I don't particularly want to destroy this. So let's grab 1, 2, and 3. I would say, I think that's long enough. I already hate this. My arm is hurting. My arm is legitimately hurting. Right, let's go with 2.5 long, I think, like that. Round about now that I, like, you know when like you just want to give something a little bit of like, a bit of a push, a bit of force. Round about now that I would love a left arm. Now for the ramp, because I was thinking having 2 of those, so what's that? Then we would need to get like 8 wide, so that's not half bad. That's legitimately not half bad. I'm somewhat happy with that. If I get tiles on the inside, and then I also start getting the minifigures down, then I think we're making some good progress here. We've got 20 minutes remaining. Let's get moving. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to use is I'm going to use these. I don't even know what they're called, but I'm going to use that to line the inside. Okay, I'm gonna call that the LCVP being done. What we're now gonna do is we're gonna get the minifigures in. I've got the box of American minifigures here. They're all ready to go, as you can see. Well, actually, they're not really ready to go. Some of them are already holding weapons, which is good. That means I'll prioritize ones that are already holding weapons, because it's difficult to give them postures with only 1 hand. Okay, 7 minutes on the clock. We're actually legitimately making good time. You can see I've got the LCVP made. I've got the minifigures placed. Some of them are going to be waist high. And I'm going to place the water now, which will hopefully bring this to life. Will hopefully merge it all together, bring it to life, and seal the deal. 7 minutes to do, plenty of time. Okay, so these are the blue studs I've got. Again, you saw them in the last build. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just start absolutely pouring them in all the way along the build. there we go. I'm actually going to stop the time there. 2 minutes, 48 seconds left, and I have completed the build. So this is the final result. Into the jaws of death. The LCVP with the Americans flooding out from the front into the water, into the jaws of death on Omaha Beach. Honestly, considering I just built this with my right arm only in under an hour from scratch, I think I've done a pretty damn good job. I don't know. So that's the second beach done. Omaha Beach. Frankly, I'm very happy with that. Once again, I've started another 1 hour timer. Now again, it's not just the 1 hour timer for Gold Beach. We're also going to be spinning the wheel of doom. Fingers crossed. No studs. I was a little bit concerned it was going to go to blindfolded, but no, we're on no studs. What that means is I'm not allowed to have any exposed studs on the surface. It should be noted that the countdown has started, so let's get on with the build. Okay, so it should be noted I've got 1 hour to build and I'm not allowed to have any exposed studs, which does present some interesting challenges. Because of course this is going to be a bunker build. Now making a bunker with no studs, there can't be any exposed studs, is going to be an interesting challenge. One that I should probably start, seeing as we've not got much time. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of my bricks here. These are dark bluish grey bricks, and I'm going to be building a cliff back up. However, I'm already kind of second guessing that, because maybe I should start with the bunker and build the cliff around it? I don't know. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. It's exactly what I'm going to do. I've also got to remember that I'm not allowed to have any exposed studs, but I am allowed to use my left hand, which honestly, thank God for that. Okay, so at this point you might be wondering what I've actually been doing and why I've kind of done what I've done. Essentially, the light bluish grey, this square in the middle, is going to be the profile of the bunker. Now, the dark bluish grey surrounding it will be where the cliff goes, but I can't have any exposed studs, which means I can't use any wedges, and I need to basically build this using plates and slopes and then put tiles on top of those plates. So I've got to just make sure I think about this a little bit. I've probably got to build from the bottom up. I've got to start at the bottom and build up just to make sure that there's no exposed studs. This is actually a much harder challenge than I think you might initially expect. Okay, that's the water tiles done. I now need to start actually building up the dark tan and tan tiles, so I'm going to do that now. What I've done here is I've got the dark tan tiles, or sorry, plates in rather, and then also the tan behind that. I plan on now putting the plates on top of those, sorry, the tiles on top of those plates to hide the studs. And then once I've got up to the top, I then know where I can start building the cliff back from. And we've got 24 minutes to do it. Maybe I'm feeling a bit better about the time now because I've actually got something done. Okay, so right now I've run out of studs and I can't find, sorry, I've run out of tiles and I can't find any more. With 17 minutes, only 17 minutes on the clock. I need to start actually just building the bunker, getting things moving. Okay, that's bunker done with 0 exposed studs on the bunker. As you can probably tell, this has just turned into all-out panic mode. There we go, there is a German in there. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I think that technically counts as finishing the build. So, the challenge was for this build, 0 exposed studs, which I have successfully done. And I also completed the build in just 1 hour. I would, obviously, if I had a bit more time, I would replace these bits down here with tiles. I ran out of tan tiles. And I would also try and make sure the water, I'm not convinced the water looks perfect, to be frank. And I would also spend a bit more time on like the cliffs here. But overall, for a 1 hour build, it's not awful. And it's a slight, it's a change of style and pace compared to the first 2 builds as well. So overall, I'm quite happy. Next up is the 4th beach of the D-Day landings, which is going to be Juno Beach. And of course, once again, let's spin the wheel. The Wheel of Doom. No removing. That's actually quite an interesting one. So once I place a brick down, I'm not allowed to pick it up. So let's go to the build desk. So this is how it's going to, roughly speaking, look. We're going to have our Sherman duplex drive here destroyed somewhere here. And we're going to have the big wall in front of it that it's next to. And we'll have a bit of water down here behind it. Remember, for this build, we are not allowed to remove any parts. And as ever, we've got a 1 hour timer, which is starting now. 59 minutes and 58 seconds to build, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do, and remember, we're not allowed to remove parts, so in fact, you know what, first thing I'm going to do is going to be getting this flotation device back onto the duplex drive, which should be just as simple as that. There we go, we've now got our Sherman duplex drive, again, ready to go. We will be taking, because there's not somebody on the top on the picture, I've disassembled everything. I'm already losing parts. Excellent. We'll have just the Sherman duplex drive like so. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it next to the build for the time being, just so I can get an idea of size and proportion. Instead of making this exactly like the image, we're going to make this like the image during the battle. So the water is going to be further in. There's going to be German defenders up here actually firing at this. It's going to be a battle scene. So instead of the literal picture, it will be the picture as the battle was taking place. Okay, just to show you that with the phone here, you can see we've got a bit of a gradient. You can get an idea of the size and proportions as well. So the tank, again, is going to be, the Sherman duplex drive, more to the point, will be driving out a little bit something like this. It'll be coming out of the water like that. Now, underneath me, I've got this massive box of Lego plates, specifically like terrain detailing kind of colors. So we're now going to start trying to actually build the beach on. So we'll start actually with dark tan, so it looks like wet, and then we'll transition into normal kind of beach color. Okay, so that's the rough proportions of this, and then we're going to get the wall at the back here, some German defenders. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it yet. That's the problem. Okay, this is the moment of truth. Does this actually match this wedge profile? It does! It does! I'm actually unstoppable. Oh, that is actually a dream come true. Oh, that's so good. Now, okay, now you can get an idea of what I'm going for here. If I then stick this in here, I mean, yeah, we really are condensing the beach down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get those tan wedges back, and I'm also going to continue building these layers back as well, just so we can build up the height a little bit so it's not quite so flat. Need a few more tan wedges as well. See, this is what I do, by the way, with these builds, is I keep, like, the terrain colors together. So this is 1x1s and 2x2s. And then this one over here is, like, 2x4s and 1x4s. And it's actually easier to find the parts when they're when they're merged together in this kind of way. Okay, so 37 minutes to go. We've got our wall. We've got the beginnings of our beach down here. Again, the Sherman duplex drive, in the image, it's kind of, like, looking a little bit right. And it's destroyed. And, like, the turret's looking this way here. Again, so what we're doing is we're going to do this. We're building this as if it's like a mid-battle image. So this is the first minifigure that I'm going to use. Seeing as he's throwing an anti-tank grenade, I think it's quite fitting. There we go. That's the first minifigure in position. And this is going to be the second minifigure, which has got an MP40 literally firing over the top. So I've not let go of him yet, so I'm not going to count that as a pickup. It's like chess. It's like chess. Once you let go of your piece, you're not allowed to pick it up. Let's go with him being there. He's firing his MP40 over the top of the wall. And then we've got a space for one more minifigure. Okay, so this is going to be our third minifigure, which is going to go on top of the wall. And again, he's going to be firing that Panzerschreck at the Sherman duplex drive. So in the image, you can see the Sherman duplex drive has been destroyed. And this is kind of like the story, I suppose, of how it got destroyed. I mean, you got an anti-tank grenade and a Panzerschreck just aiming directly at him. I mean, this tells a pretty clear story of how this got destroyed. Okay, it's time to get the Canadians on board. So let's see, we've got 1, 2. Oh, this body here is perfect for you, the viewer, by the way. This is absolutely perfect for you. So you, the viewer, are going to become Canadian. That is absolutely perfect. So again, you, the viewer, are charging onto the beach with a big smile on your face, firing your Webley revolver in the air with a dagger in hand, and you're going to be simply just running up the beach. General Burnface. Okay, so General Burnface is now going to be Canadian Tank Commander Burnface on the Sherman duplex drive. He's actually going to be, and you know what? I've decided that we're going to get, yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to move, we're going to reposition. Tank Commander Burnface is now going to be throwing a tank shell at the enemy from the Sherman duplex drive, and you, the viewer, will be springing, like jumping off the back of the tank, to try and storm the beach on your own, as you would do. Of course you would. Now we're also going to get a couple of normal Canadian soldiers down here. We'll get them equipped. We'll get one running down on the right, one running down on the left, just so it looks a little bit more populated than some of the other ones have. And there we go, 15 minutes left. I'm gonna stop the clock. We did that in 45 minutes. Frankly, I'm pretty happy with that. That's not too bad at all. So 45 minutes for that. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how that's actually gone. Remember, you, the viewer, charging off the back of the Sherman duplex drive. And we've also got our trusty tank commander burn face. Let me see here, literally trying to throw a tank shell at the enemy. And we've got two Canadians either side. We've got two Canadians on this side, rather. One Canadian on this side here. That's a kind of a rough overview. And then we've got three Germans firing. One with an MP40. The one in the middle's got a Panzerschreck. The one on the right is throwing an anti-tank grenade. And this is the overview of the Juno Beach MOC. Rate this out of 10, and let's move on to the final beach, which is Sword Beach, for which we will be using the Royal Marine Commandos. This is the picture that I'm going to be recreating as Royal Marine Commandos make their way onto the beach after the fight is already over. And what's the handicap going to be? Let's spin the Wheel of Doom. Only plate. It's quite self-explanatory. Let's begin the build. I think we basically try and make bricks out of the plates to then suspend the entire build up. Now, I should quickly mention, if you're wondering why I'm doing my bricks like this, the reason that I'm doing it is because it's just much easier to take them apart. If I was to force them all together, it would be an absolute nightmare to get it to bits. So I'm going to put these in each of the corners and in the middle here, and then get a layer of dark tan plates, I think, over the top. And there we go. Okay, 15 minutes in, and oh, my timer is actually low on battery, it turns out. But what I've done there, you might be wondering, why the hell have I done it that way? Because it was one of the least efficient ways I could have possibly achieved that. But the reason we're doing it is, remember, we are only allowed to use plates. That's the whole point here. And we're just going to, every single 4 studs, we're basically going to increase the level by 1 additional plate. And we're going to keep doing that until we're all the way at the back. And then we should have a gradual incline all the way from the bottom left to the top right. And then we're going to do some additional detailing. We're going to be using dark tan and olive plates around here. And maybe even a bit of brown and stone for the path itself, because it looks like they're walking over dirt and stone because it's been trodden in so much. And I'm going to start trying to detail that just a little bit, like so. So to begin with, it's every single set of plates that I'm doing, it goes in 1 stud, but then it's going to go in every other 2 studs. So basically, it's a sharper curve down here, and then it straightens up down here. So they're coming down, round from the left, and as they come up, it straightens out. Okay, 32 minutes. Now, again, if we look at the reference image, you can see that on the left-hand side here, there's some barbed wire, some bushes and brushes and stuff, which it's going to be interesting to see how I do that, actually, because if you think about it, we can only use plates. So I can't even use, I'd already got like a bunch of shrubbery here. You can see this like shrubbery I'd picked out. I was gonna use this, and then for example some of this stuff here. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to use any of that because it's plates only. However, these are circular plates, right? They're just circular plates, right? Yeah, I don't know. What's the official name for these? Are these circular plates? Because I could probably make some makeshift bushes with these. So like makeshift vegetation. I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna have to get creative here actually, aren't we? What I will do to begin with is I'm gonna build up some more of the terrain around this pathway. Okay, we're looking at 28 minutes left, so it's time we start getting a move on here. What I have now done is, with this final 2x1 plate, then at least like the bit around it's kind of like matching the height of this. So what we're now going to do is we're now going to start trying to get some more color variation down, specifically some like dark tan bits. Oh no, our timer's dead. No. How long was it? It was like 25 minutes maybe? I could be wrong, and it's probably gonna... Oh, okay, it's died again. So, okay, so the time is, right now, let's have a quick look. Look at my watch here. So the time is... Hold on, let's see if I can remember. It's a 6 alarm. Okay, I'm gonna run that for 25 minutes. Okay, 25 minutes is my timer. I don't know if that's what my official timer was, but that's what we're going with. The edit will make clear whether or not that's a complete guess or not. Okay, hopefully you can roughly speaking see what I'm going for here. I'm trying to get like a grassy sand dune aesthetic here along like the trodden path. Okay, honestly, this is actually coming together pretty nicely. You can see I'm trying to like break up the square lines here as well, so it looks like a much more natural kind of path, a natural progression development up the hill. I have now got, if my timing was correct, I have now got 15 minutes remaining. beginning to doubt my timings, I must admit. So let's start trying to get the minifigures on. You can see these are really, really, really nice Royal Marine Commando minifigures. I must admit, these are some of the nicest minifigures I've got. And there we go with 12 minutes left on the clock, maybe. I'm going to end it here because I don't know how much time I actually had, but I believe this was still within the time limit. We'll be able to see during the edit, but what we've got here is we have got Sword Beach Royal Marine Commandos making their way up over the beach, and again, the challenge for this 1 hour build was to do the entire build only using plates. So no tiles, no bricks, no nothing. This entire thing is built using only plates. You can see I've used dark tan and olive plates buried around this reddish brown pathway here, and I've kind of tried to scatter it out as much as possible to make this look like vegetation. I would have loved to have used the vegetation and barbed wire, but that's the whole point of this challenge build. So which was your favorite D-Day beach? Was it Utah Beach, Omaha Beach, Gold Beach, Juno Beach, or Sword Beach? Rate them in the comment section below and make sure you subscribe.